Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. This series, I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host, That Darn Kitty.
Dorkus and I are sharing our experience reading The Way of Kings for the first time. Each episode, we will summarize what we've read and discuss the experience along the way.
This is Storming the Archives, The Way of Kings, and today we discuss Chapter 1.
Chapter 1!
5 years later. The Parshendi and the Alethi are at war. Sen, a 15-year-old boy, is now a soldier about to fight in his first battle. The nature of this battle is that of a border dispute. Ostensibly, a landlord has encroached upon Bright Lord Amaram's territory, land owned by High Prince Sadeas. This conflict is far away from the real battles at the Shattered Plains. Sen's first words are, "I'm going to die, aren't I?" Dalit, a grizzled veteran, attempts to comfort Sen, assuring him that he won't die and advising him to relieve himself before the battle. Fellow soldiers surrounding Sen all appear uncharacteristically calm considering the looming battle. A tall, dark-eyed man, just a few years older in appearance than Sen and holding a spear with 2 daggers, calls out to Dalit. As he approaches, Sen notes he wears trousers, something that isn't supposed to be allowed. Sen realizes with awe that this is Kaladin Stormblessed. Kaladin comments that he had to pay good money to move Sen from someone else's squad to his own. Kaladin surveys the battlefield with Dalit, then Dalit takes a few more moments to calm Sen. Before long, the battle begins. The battle plays out differently than Sen had been taught, and differently than he had been trained for. Kaladin's squad sprint, managing to evade an initial onslaught of arrows. The squad settles on a hill and defends it for a time. Sen is well protected by his fellow soldiers and watches as the squad maneuvers in accordance with Kaladin's signals like a well-oiled machine. The battle rages on, with Sen seemingly on the losing side. In a moment of chaos, Sen is separated from the squad. Sen attempts to find Kaladin's squad, but fails to do so. Instead, he finds himself facing enemy soldiers heading in his direction. Believing that running would be futile, Sen bravely lifts his spear, prepared to fight. An enemy soldier stabs Sen in the thigh. As the soldier is about to end Sen's life, Sen is saved. Amidst the chaos and pain, Sen sees Kaladin fighting with what seems to be superhuman ability. After the duels, Kaladin wraps up Sen's injured leg. Kaladin orders the bulk of his men to hang back. The very worst of the battle seems to be over. Then, Kaladin orders 2 sub-squads of his men into a new formation. He intends to take down an enemy battalion lord. Kaladin wants to do this, hoping he will be able to join the real fighting at the Shattered Plains. As Kaladin heads off, Amaram's side seems to gain a second wind. Sen marvels at how different this squad is. He learns that Kaladin bribes battlefield runners to make sure his squad is not overlooked when they come to help injured soldiers. Kaladin bravely succeeds in a fight against the battalion lord he had set out to beat. Sen asks Dalit why Kaladin had paid for him. Dalit responds, "It's just how he is. Hates the thought of young kids like you, barely trained, going to battle. Every now and again he grabs one and brings him into his squad. A good half-dozen of our men were once like you. I think you all remind him of someone." Dalit curses and Sen sees a new foe, a shard-bearer in gleaming armor and a magnificent sword, charging toward them. Overwhelmed and losing blood, Sen passes out. Chapter 1, Stormblessed. But before we even get into the chapter, there are a couple of things I want to comment on. I didn't mention it in the last 2 chapisodes, but I did make the association between desolation and deepness. And at the time of recording this, we are only a couple of hours away from our live reading of The Emperor's Soul. And I was making the thumbnail for it, and I found a book cover for The Emperor's Soul, which featured a red sun, which I also found for book covers for Way of Kings. And of course, Red Sun features prominently in the Mistborn series. So I'm seeing the connections. I don't know what they mean, but I'm seeing it, yeah?
Yeah, don't know if it's real yet. If there's literal connection, I suppose there is. Is there supposed to be literal connection, or is it just theoretical that that these are related?
I kind of think that the deepness is associated with what we got in the prelude with the enemy that the heralds defeated having gone away. So we don't know what was lost under the Lord Ruler's reign regarding other worlds, but that's a discussion for a different podcast. Let's have that during our next Well of Ascension episode. The very first line of this chapter, "I'm going to die, aren't I?" is such a great first line considering the prelude we get, "But I survived." And in the prologue, we get Zeth's very specific opinions about wanting to die, but not being able to pursue death, for lack of a more in-depth explanation of what was expressed in that chapter.
Yeah, he welcomes death.
Yes. So we get yet another very specific belief statement or point of view around the concept of death, which I think is really well done for whatever it's trying to build.
The theme is there. We will keep an eye out for it as we go.
Everyone in this chapter has some really wonderful, likable traits and qualities. I love all three characters that feature prominently in this chapter. You've got Sen, you've got Dalit, and you've got Kaladin, yeah?
Yeah. Dalit and Kaladin are both really cool. So
cool.
A Wheel of Time reference. I feel a bit like Dalit is kind of like Uno for you guys, Wheel of Time guys. It's not that he swears or anything. It's just that there's gruff toughness, just the toughness of this veteran. And also, Dalit really respects Kaladin, who's 19, it seems.
Yeah. Not that much older than Sen.
Yeah, but it's like, that's his sir and whatever. It doesn't matter. So Kaladin is really formidable. Sen, on the other hand, we really do get to experience his terror at being in like his first battle and just being in way over his head. That was very well done. But all of them, yeah, likable. Sen because of his innocence. Like he's looking at the battlefield and he thinks of it as, oh, this will make a good pasture. You know, which is like the equivalent of he just wants to grill. And then this now he's in this battle and he's only 15. Yeah, liked all three of them. Hope they all survive. I don't know if Sen survives.
I hope he does.
Mm-hmm.
So when Dalit advises Sen to just pee, get it out so it doesn't bother you during the battle, excellent advice, good, strong advice. But I was also making a small connection in my mind to the opening of Saving Private Ryan, where all of the soldiers are about to storm the beaches and they're in these boats and like they're vomiting into their helmets and they're very scared. So it's a very powerful way to open on a war scene.
Yeah, especially with Sen's youth. And also just the fact that he's even a little bit embarrassed and he looks around as well to see whether the rest of the squad is going to make a comment about it, and they don't. It's like, this is actually, they've seen this all happen before. It's all normal to them, which makes it even more powerful because it's the repeated, the hint of that, oh, this is just repeated. This happens all the time. That makes it even more horrific.
The desensitization.
Yeah, the desensitization is just, okay, well, yeah, we do this. And of course the youngin is gonna be nervous and yeah, probably he should pee. And maybe one or two of them did the same thing when it was their first battle. So they don't even make a comment about it.
Especially considering that a great many of them were him not that long ago. Yeah.
That actually reminds me just quickly to think about the fact that Dalit says that you all remind him, being Kaladin, of someone. And I don't know if he means that he reminds Kaladin, they remind Kaladin of himself, or if there was like a little brother or something like that. So that's an interesting thing that we could keep an eye on in next chapters. Who is who is the person they remind him of? Because this is very clearly a motivation that Brandison wants us to notice, that he literally paid to make sure that the young boy was part of his squad so that he could train them up. There's a big explanation that was actually part of a quote that you already saw, that I need to quote that directly. That's that is quite an interesting thing to hold on to going forward. Like, what is Kaladin's story? It makes you curious about it.
Yeah, it's very much the save the cat moment, that he is a person who looks out for the young'uns.
Yeah, even though he's young.
Yeah. And I did assume that Dalit was referring to Kaladin himself. I placed upon Kaladin this story of he himself being a young'un recruited into the war. But it could be someone else, as you've suggested, maybe a brother or something. We'll learn more.
Yeah, we will. It just makes me curious. Last thing on the peeing, one thing that also came up to me was the fact that they, just in comparison to Seth's regard for stone, right? He kept referring to it being profane to walk upon stone and things like that. And then here we've got Sen peeing on the stone, I suppose.
Oh no!
Because so I just thought of it that way, compared to walking on stone walkers are something profane, according to Seth, if I'm not mistaken. So that stood out to me, whether it's correct or not.
I appreciate the dichotomy, the juxtaposition.
Exactly.
And I'm really loving the spren.
Yeah. We have confirmation, I suppose, in this, because remember I was wondering if it was only Seth that could see them because he's got the storm powers, but clearly everybody can see them, and that must make for, as you said in the previous episode, a very colorful world. Pain is orange, fear is purple, seems like. Yeah.
Let's pay attention to the colors. Yeah, I'm gonna start noting that. I'm gonna make special attention to noting the colors of the spren and what they're associated with.
Yeah.
I love spear warfare, by the way. I think spear warfare is a very underrated method of fighting in fiction, but I believe they were much more common, at least in antiquity, certainly, rather than the Middle Ages. Spears are good. They're long. Don't let your opponents get up close to you.
Yeah, and they are definitely deadly, as evidenced in history and literally in this chapter. And also the reach thing, definitely, but also if you're using, what I like, of course, is the fact that Kaladin uses the other end and swings the spear like a quarterstaff, which I think is cool. Quarterstaff.
Oh yeah, Kaladin is all kinds of cool in this episode, in this chapter rather. He seems to exhibit some supernatural abilities. Yeah?
Indeed. Yeah. The warping, as if the air had become something.
He takes on several men. A fourth man fell with a knife to the eye. When had Kaladin grabbed that knife? He spun between the last two, his spear a blur, wielding it like a quarterstaff. For a moment, Sen thought he could see something surrounding the squad leader, a warping of the air like the wind itself become visible.
And now, yes, Sen has lost blood at this point, I think. So, yeah, cool. He can explain it away with that, but I do think it's a real thing, because
I agree.
People notice the way this guy fights, and he's got that super speed that we kind of got Seth using, but I don't know if he looks exactly the same. It's interesting. Yeah.
And let's note that Kaladin is dark-eyed.
Yeah.
Dark eyes being the lower spectrum of the class system or caste system.
Yeah, we've got a lot of that on display in this chapter, with the light eyes, having the horses, having full plates of armor as opposed to just breastplates, things like that. So the difference between the two we definitely see. We also see Kaladin, even though he is the squad leader. So, I mean, we do see that he is, like, he wears trousers, even though that's not supposed to be allowed. So he's got certain privileges, I suppose, or people, the Light Eyes just let him be. But in this chapter, the Light Eyes like goes past and says, you know, kill and whatever, and he waits for the guy to move past before he speaks to his crew and says steady. Like that was quite a noticeable dynamic for me. So okay, he has to step out of the way step out of it. He has to let the Light Eyes pass before he continues doing his own thing. And he has proper hatred for Light Eyes, but seems to think that the Light Eyes that are fighting at the Shattered Plains will be better. They have integrity, apparently.
Yeah, so that also gets into my mind. He seems very good about being able to do his own thing, and it may well be that he has this unique talent, and that's all well and good, being a big fish in a small pond, but I'm wondering what that dynamic will be like if he ever does make it to the Shattered Plains. I suspect he might be in for a rude awakening, personally.
Yeah, extra doubt. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see him in that context. See how. Already, I'm curious about how this character would act in that rude awakening situation. So already, and we don't get his POV. Nothing. We just get him, and we also get the way that Dalit thinks of him and the way his men react to him. That makes us also
respect.
Yeah, we use that as social proof. Yeah, he's a leader, so we're like, wow, they really respect him. They nod when Dalit says he's lucky. That sort of stuff all adds to who Kaladin is, and we find him cool from seeing how cool he is, but also we see that the rest of the people really do care about him. We've got a lot of he pays to get his injured off the battlefield, things like that. He's paid to get
very likable trait.
Yeah, just all of it. There is definitely much rescuing of cats. Yeah.
Yeah, and also he does seem to have I'll say an oath of vengeance against some battalion lord.
Yes.
He's hoping that it's in this battle, the one that he fights, but I highly doubt it's going to be. But I want to learn more about what that is and why.
Yeah, exactly. Why do we need the one? Yes, he says, well, I mean, either way, we're going to get this battalion leader, so let's just get him. But why is there such nemesis? But also, he dispatches this guy quite quickly as well.
Yeah.
It's just a knife in the eye. He's very good with those.
Yep.
Really cool stuff. But also, that's also what made me wonder, are we going to get a shard? Is he going to kill a shard bearer? That would be cool. That would be super, super cool.
It would be legend. Wait for it. Dairy. Legend.
Exactly. That is it.
I mean, your mother.
Yes. We were literally told that's legendary. So I'm like, okay, cool. Are we going to get one? Are we going to get an occurrence of this happening? Also, we're actually, speaking of shard bearers, we weren't supposed to get one in any case.
No. What a scary end of the chapter. Why is a shard bearer at what is being characterized as some sort of backwater battle? Then again, I suppose that there have been battles in actual history that you don't expect to be as big as they end up being historically. So this could end up being a pivotal battle somehow.
It makes sense that they wouldn't. They all seem quite confused about what is the real reason. It's a border dispute. That's as far as close as they can really get to it. Yeah. They're just like, I'm here to fight. And so it makes sense that they would, they won't be absolutely clear on how important this battle is. But they do absolutely think that the battle on the Shattered Plains is the most meaningful. Which, it's been going on for 5 years since that one assassination. So, wow.
Yep. Oh, but enough of Kaladin being badass. Can we talk about Sen's badass moment where instead of running, he holds up the spear to fight at the end?
Yes, that
Not
is
at the end, but
yeah, close to that is how he gets injured. But
what he thinks his end is.
I thought it was quite smart
Yeah,
because he does
heroic.
think, yeah, he does think that when you run off, that's when you get picked off. So I have to
Yeah,
stand and fight. He didn't go, oh, somebody will come and save me or anything like that. He was just like, okay, well, running is not an option here. So that was great. It's a great
yeah.
moment. It's
Really,
still great.
such likable characters all around.
And I
And
hope he
Dalit looking
survives.
after the youngin. Great.
Yeah. Oh yes, the way they also just ban Kaladin literally. Sorry, Kaladin. I think I'm just fangirling here, but like he bandages up Sen as well. That's
Oh,
another
yeah.
rescue the cap. Literally, so much likable stuff. And yes, you want Sen to be rescued, so you like him too. One thing I do wonder is like they seem to actually even Sen seems to think well of the king. Did you get that feeling?
I did not. I mean, I
They're
didn't
like
notice it. It may well be in there, and I just didn't see it.
it was not
What?
like crazy. Ooh, I love the king. It's more like they have this respect for the king fighting the real battle on the Shattered Plains, and there's no criticism. Or maybe it's that it's the lack of criticism that they've been fighting for 5 years in revenge.
Mm.
There's no criticism of that. There's just acceptance, which also brings me back to the light eyes, dark eyes thing. They have this ambition. Kaladin et al. Have this ambition to go to the Shattered Plains and get into the real fighting. There's no criticism of that fighting. There's no,
I see
oh,
what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they kind of feel like, yeah, this will be great for them, which is an interesting view to have of a soldier, because we are so often given the reluctant soldier, the one that's fighting in a war that means nothing. I do think that we are going to get that disillusionment where you will realize that war is
Bad.
kind of is
Yeah,
bad all the
I
time,
agree.
so it doesn't matter. Even if you have fighting that means something, it's still horrific. It's still gonna hurt, literally
Yeah.
and figuratively. So yeah, I think it's quite an interesting setup.
I do want to comment on I liked the running trick, running ahead of everyone to avoid
Mm-hmm.
the initial arrow volley, but
Yeah.
I genuinely want to know how realistic that would be in a battle, because I would take Sen's position that, you're taught to hold the shields and keep the line. And my preferred extracurricular area of study is in antiquity, and you get a lot of Rome being characterized as this just slow moving juggernaut, the testudo formation, just moving forward, never breaking. So if anyone listening happens to have any unique insight into armies doing that and how well it's received among their peers, please let me know.
Oh, and we will also probably. That's another thing. Is this apparently the fighting is supposedly different and more disciplined over at the Shattered Plains. So we might see those kind of juggernauty line things, formations over there, or we'll just see the same thing that seems to happen. Everyone just breaks into their own mini fight.
Yeah,
I don't know how that
a
is.
part of me is expecting Kaladin and his squad to be sent over to the Shattered Plains. He's going to try and pull something like he pulls in this, and then he's going to get chewed out or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's my expectation, but I won't be disappointed if that doesn't happen. Just it's
an
where my
idea.
mind is right now. Yeah.
Yeah. My last question is the Almighty the same as the Stormfather? Because we've gotten Stormfather this, Stormfather that. People, it's kind of like it's a plea. But then we also have Sen describing the Shardbearer as the Almighty come down and taking flesh. Are those the same thing? Just different terms? Or is there like Stormfather being a part of some sort of Trinity thing that they have or something like that?
Excellent question. I'm not too sure. I know that in the earlier part of the chapter, Sen thinks, I'm going to die. Oh, Stormfather, I'm going to die. And then the last lines in the chapter are like the Almighty himself had taken form to walk the battlefield. I don't know right now.
Yeah,
could
it's
be.
not like a huge, question. It's just curiosity, I suppose. Oh, one more thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The first thing that I wanted to discuss was these collections. Wait, have we discussed it?
The
collection.
epigraphs.
Yeah, the epigraphs. Did we just?
No, we did not. You've killed me. Bastards, you've killed me. While the sun is still hot, I die. Collected on the 5th day of the week, Chach of the month Betob of the year 1171, 10 seconds before death. Subject was a dark-eyed soldier, 31 years of age. Sample is considered questionable.
Right. So what on earth is going on? We have had the previous epigraphs as well, where it also has this many seconds before death. Child also died. We also had that. So now and now we have sample is questionable. What sample is there? Like some sort of juice that they take out of your brain to get your last
death spren
memory? Death spren, yes. Do they take a sample of death spren around? Yeah.
I did imagine like an order of morticians or people that record the last words. Well, in that Seth chapter, we got a line, a man's dying words or dying request is supposed to be
sacred.
Sacred, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to see that would definitely be a connection. Oh my gosh, I did not make that connection. But yeah, that they collect people's dying words.
Yeah. I mean, there's not enough information here. Well, is there? There's probably enough information to say that someone is recording last words. And if it's more than one person, you could consider it an order of people.
Yeah, it's like an order of monks or something that go around and do that after a battle, it seems like.
Yeah. But I'm sure we'll get more on that as well as we go on.
Yeah, so that was Storm Blessed. Oh, another thing is, yes, our chapters have names now. So that's another thing to add to the differences between our experience in Mistborn and our experience here. So chapter names will, I like to understand, to interpret why they're called these things. Well, why he chose certain titles. Obviously, Stormblessed it's our first introduction to Kaladin.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. We notice how Stormblessed he is.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked this chapter quite a lot. Mm-hmm. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next week. Okay, thanks, bye.